What we are learning is Eastern wisdom. Do you love peace? Yes. So that is my nature. Do you love happiness? Because I love happiness, it's my nature. Do you love stress? Do you love grief? I don't love it. That's why I want to escape from it. In the first session in this series, we learned that Eastern wisdom aims at self-discovery and end of suffering. 2 points. So I love peace. So peace is my nature. I love happiness. Happiness is my nature. That is why I love. Do I love knowledge? If John is talking to Sophie, I was, talking about you to that guy. What you were talking? I love knowledge. What you are talking? Let me know it. I love knowledge. Do I want to survive? Yes, I like to survive. I love to survive. It means I love to exist. That is existence. So in the second session, we covered, I believe that you have listened and heard it a couple of times and you have contemplated and reflected. Temporary means for permanent solution and the role of the mind and the intellect. Mind is instinctive, impulsive, habitual. We have to ask the intellect to take over the mind. We should not take a luxury that, no, I have an intellect. Why you have an intellect? Why don't you think? Why don't you think? I have to bring an end to the suffering. So here comes another. So in the third session last week, we covered we have a lot of grace and blessing. Now ask yourself, do you have a grace and a blessing? That I love happiness. That is my nature. I don't like unhappiness. That is also clear. Now, am I searching happiness through an object, through a person, through an event? Or I directly want to remove unhappiness? Tell me which statement applies to you. Understand again. I am seeking my honey for my happiness. On the other hand, I understand that I love happiness because happiness is my nature. So why I am seeking my honey for my happiness? Did you understand? So I'm not saying it means, let me divorce you. Finished. Because happiness is my nature. So that's a wrong approach of the intellect. Are you understanding this? If my mind wants any object, including wealth, honey, event, place, to secure happiness, peace, wisdom, knowledge, not possible. You are not directly attacking unhappiness, fear, insecurities, grief. You want happiness through. You want peace through. You want knowledge through. That is why our master says, Asato ma satgamaya. Let your mind move from the false notion that we have created, that peace and happiness is outside. Unless I have lot of wealth, I will be happy. How many wealthy people are happy? I always give example, of my dear friend. Those who do not follow Eastern wisdom, they are my good friends, like Bill Gates. You see, this is the journey. Once we understand, we are very clear that I want removal of fear to be fearlessness. That fear is superimposed on me by the mind. Unhappiness is superimposed on me by the mind. Insecurities and the grief is superimposed on me by the mind. If it is not, then you can never say that I love peace, I love happiness. Are you getting it? So our approach is wrong. Eastern wisdom clears this doubt. It understands the false notion. Now talk a little bit about problems and suffering. That includes fear, insecurities, grief, anxiety, depression. I had a private student on Monday. So he has a girlfriend, not a girlfriend in a very friendly sense. So she called him and said that, if my boyfriend do not call me in 2 days, I will commit suicide. So at least, God will put in information to his boyfriend, her boyfriend. Huh? God will trigger the mind of a boyfriend, and then boyfriend will call, and then she will prevent committing suicide. This is the nature of the mind. The problem is resolved. He talked to it because he has been my student for a couple of months now. He said, I talked to her. Whenever we have a problem in personal, professional, social, family life, we get lost in them. That creates anxiety, grief, reaction, pain, emotional pain. Remember, I love peace. Peace is my nature. But I experience anxiety, problems, suffering, grief. Why? I am lost. So when you are lost, you put the intellect into background, you don't remain self-aware, and then there is a problem. Take a simple example of infidelity, cheating, problem of property, the relationship problem of near and dear ones, grief, anxiety. Mind focuses on where it focuses. It is focused outside. Are you clear? So when it is focused outside, what happens? That mind moves with the likes and dislikes. My preferences takes over. Oh, my honey cheated me. So what you have been doing? Many couple come to me, so I listen to them. And I always ask them who is more intelligent out of the two. If the husband says I'm more intelligent than my wife, so I said, what path intelligence shows to you? Does it show you to fight? No. Does it show you to live in peace? Yes. Are you in peace? No. Are you intelligent? Yes. I am lost. And I told you, when I am lost, then what happens? Then I suffer from anxiety, depression, grief, because I'm lost. I don't know what to do. Do you agree with me up to until now? Let us move deeper. I am husband or a wife, I have a right to exercise my authority on you. Do you exercise authority on yourself? Answer is no. Why no? The mind causes me and mine. And that me and mine enters into the mind. We start giving 100% value to others and 0% value to yourself. Think of it. The beauty of the Eastern wisdom that every teacher has to teach the same thing. It is only their expression. So I find the group, so I'm giving my own expression. So when I give value to an object, to a person, to a thing, and that value either is negative or positive, like Bill Gates, I lived loveless life. Object is Melinda. Object is Melinda. And this me and mine causes extreme attachment in our relationship between a person's mind and a thing. The mind is attached. This mind is lost in the world. Our master says, hold on, relax, calm down, then think who you are. Do you love attachment? No. Finished. My intellect is awakened. So now I have to think in a right manner. Me and mine is gone. See that me and mine is gone. And when me and mine is gone, I take over the mind by the intellect. And when I take over the mind by intellect, that is the first step to bring an end to the suffering. So the person is suffering. It becomes suffering yoga. When the intellect takes over the mind, it stops giving 100% value to the object or a person outside, and it returns inside. It says, who am I? What is my role? What should I do? You become a thinker, and that thinker helps you to find out the peace, because you love peace. Peace is your nature. You love happiness. That is why happiness is your nature. So it is only the intellect will realize in you that the mind is crazy and that is not my nature. So that drops your instinctive, impulsive, habitual nature. Are you getting it? So you want to commit a suicide, degree of an intensity of attachment is at the peak. I don't know who am I. If you don't call me in 2 days, I will. Are you threatening? The other guy says, do it. I already have a relationship with someone else. Do you see? People, we find these things. Until we continue the journey, we reach to that state where the spark of the real self is realized. This mind will continue to make you crazy, lazy, reactive. You will definitely suffer. Why? Because the mind is seeking an object or a person or a thing or an event outside to be happy, to be peaceful. Are you getting it? Wonderful guy. He's a young guy. He's a millionaire. He lives here. He has been my student, a private student, for 2.5 years. Suddenly, he stopped. So his associate is attending also my private lessons. So that person told me that he divorced and he married. That's why he's not talking to you. He's very much shy. 2.5 years, he evolved at a much higher level. He claimed, but he did not get the spark, that realization that peace is my essential nature. Everything is destroyed. 2.5 years of your journey is destroyed. So me and mine leads to attachment. Attachment is born in the mind because I depend on a person, object, and a thing. It creates expectations. But the other outer event, person, thing is not in control of me 100%. So the mind keeps living in fear, insecurities, anxiety. Mind becomes impulsive, instinctive, habitual. I am lost. So I have to suffer. Don't complain why you are suffering. Don't complain that he or she is not loving me. Do you love your love? Yes, love is my nature. If it is my nature, how the hell it is outside? And if it is not outside, the intellect understands it comes in front, takes over the mind, and you experience inner calm and the poise. How it happens? I give value to others by thinking. And thinking causes the attachment. That attachment in the mind believes that peace and happiness is outside. Without this guy, I cannot live. You are already living. We check. It's a reality check. You are already living. That's why you are explaining to me. But due to delusion, we forget it. Now, continue to ask questions. Why this delusion is cause of attachment? And I have already given you the answer. Ask yourself, Question related to happiness. Am I seeking happiness from an object that is outside? That object may be a person, a money, or a house, or a place. Or I want to remove unhappiness in me. Because happiness is already there. I want to remove unhappiness in me. That intellect shoots inside and says, mind, stop this nonsense. No blame, no complaint, no reaction, no anxiety. Come on, work on yourself. So even in the midst of suffering, you enter into the path of yoga, Eastern wisdom, meditation. If you do not think in this way, nothing is going to happen. Then what happens? Because your knowledge inside your head is not clear. And you sit in meditation, so you have millions of thoughts. Because you give value to the other things outside in the world. I don't give any value to anything in the world except my master who taught me. Even in the midst of suffering, anxiety, the mind shows the anxiety and your intellect is awakened. Inner light, that intellect shows you the inner light. The moment you think only this one, I love peace, peace is my nature. I love happiness because happiness is my nature. I don't love stress. I want to escape from it. Tell me, ant to elephant understand this? We do not understand. They don't have an intellect. That's why, as a human being, we have many blessings that we can think, we can separate. Suffering. The first chapter of the Gita, one of the most famous texts. It has sold more than 500 million copies in more than 35 languages. So we are learning from that. It is the topic, subject matter is discussed in the first chapter. Krishna was a great master, and there were two cousins, Duryodhana and Arjuna. Duryodhana and Arjuna, they were taught in the Gurukul, means in the monastery. They received the knowledge. They had a fight over the kingdom. Duryodhana did not want to give even a piece of land. Arjuna was ready even to take few villages. The armies from both the sides were standing against each other. Krishna, the master, went to the Duryodhana and asked him, do you know this all about Eastern wisdom? He said, I know everything. You need not to teach me. First thing. Second thing, that I'm not ready to give even a piece of land to my cousin. Third thing, he said, I know everything what is right and good, but I don't feel like doing what is right. How many of us think like this? I am in stress. Don't you believe me? You are giving me a lecture. That is the approach of Duryodhana. Arjuna said, to Krishna, the Master, whatever you say, I will follow your guidance. Do you say sometime I'm helpless? Well, at a point of time, we might have found that we are helpless. Why don't you seek help? When your mind says I'm helpless, seek help. Arjuna said he was in extreme stress that how I can manage my entire family. If they don't want to give even a piece of land, possibly my cousin will kill me and my family, even though I'm a great warrior, but without the kingdom. He left everything. Why? He said, they are the objects outside. Let me seek help in the state of helplessness. That is the job of an intellect. It doesn't mean that I become pity, I have a lot of problems. Why should I seek help? You are helpless. You have a stress. You have an anxiety. You have a grief. You must seek help. So that the moment whose intellect remains intact in times of grief, anxiety, problems, suffering, only they go to the doctor. Have you seen 90% of the people? What will happen if I go to them? From where that thought has come from? The mind. So today's lesson, what is today's lesson? That first I recognize I love peace, so peace is my nature. But at the same time, I experience stress and anxiety and duality and a conflict and limited. I have a lot of insecurities. Second question we should ask, am I seeking an object, person, thing outside for peace and happiness? Yes. Then why I say I love peace, which is my nature? So what should be the solution? Solution, how to remove unhappiness from my mind. How to remove the insecurity which is present in my mind. How to remove the state of the fear which is present in the mind. That is the job of an intellect. The moment you start thinking in this way, you are ready to treat the path of East and West. Before that, nothing happens. I gave people more than 5,000 different practices. One guy from India, he became for 8 years. He said, I like this practice, but can you give me a little deeper? So I said, okay. So every week he used to meet me. He was paying me enough, more than enough. So after 50 practices, he left me. Who is to blame? That needs to be understood because my mind is still not settled in myself. Still I am seeking peace through an object, through a person, through an event. If I get this much of money, I will be happy. So I superimpose happiness on the dollar. Can you show me happiness is written on the dollar? Happiness is written on your honey? Is happiness written on a mansion? Peace is written on a mansion? If you buy a house, The realtor says, I have also given you the peace. Tell me, ask yourself. We don't guide and teach anything blindly. There is no blind belief. Very clear concept and principles. Those masters have spent years and years in the Himalayas, in the forest, to contemplate and reflect before they scribe these principles. They had no interest that they will become the bestseller. We are learning that from those teachings. So once you are clear about it, and you have to contemplate and reflect. The last point, and then we will start doing our practice. There are two people in the Mondays group. One is uncle and other is nephew. They live apart. One is living in New York and her uncle is living here in Arizona. So they are ready to ask a question. What they do, they listen to it, they do the practice, and then they talk to each other on the principle. They talk how this principle can be made true in my life. That is the way to treat the path of East and West. But if you have doubt, I'm here on the principles. So when you think, first thing, like Arjuna, who is still suffering, who has lost the entire kingdom, and he goes to the master, I feel I'm helpless in this situation. What should I do? Why he's helpless? Because he does not want to fight with his cousin. Those situation comes, I lived with you for 27 years. I don't want to fight with you. What should I do? I lived with you for 20 years. Now I lost grief. What should I do? Lot of questions that comes to our mind. So I'm suffering, but still I feel helpless, but I want to seek help. Eastern wisdom is nothing but an instrument of knowledge that shows us how to awaken to that permanent peace, happiness, love, wisdom. So if you start thinking, listening to it, and if you start, your intellect takes over the mind, then these weekly sessions will totally transform you. Let us start our practice now.